Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
Boom! Friday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, my buddy James. Just a couple of dudes hanging out, talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. We're at episode 72 tonight, James. Pretty cool. This thing just keeps on rolling, man. And so, typical agenda, regular season. We're going to start things off with Name That Stadium. Then we're going to hit our recap of the news from the past week. After that, we'll jump into our Week 12 power rankings and game picks. And last but not least, we'll do question of the week. So, with all that being said, how's it going tonight, man?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
It's going good, man. Going good. Quiet Thanksgiving, but it was, always good family time. How about you guys, man?
Yeah, just had a couple of people over, but it was good.
Awesome, awesome. And I always love the football action on Thanksgiving. I got to watch, I would say, three-quarters of the Lions game with my son, which was pretty cool. He's like just at that age where he's finally getting into football, so it's like, yes, here we go. It was cool. But of course, after the Lions game, that was it. I couldn't get him to watch the Dallas game and then the Buffalo game. He actually he liked the colors of the Buffalo Bills and he wanted to watch it, but of course then I had to get him to bed because it was bedtime. So, but
Yeah,
fun
it should be
stuff.
out on the West Coast. That game started at like 5 in the afternoon.
Yeah, so that's the strategy is what you're saying. If you have young kids, live out on the West Coast, and then that way they can watch all the games with you. When they get older and they're out partying with their friends, they don't want to be around you, then you can move back to the East or whatever, wherever you were from, and then it doesn't matter. You can just do it on your own time. But of course, if you get to our age and then you just fall asleep on the couch anyhow. So,
Yeah, exactly.
of course, I don't know. Maybe you're not that bad, but I mean, right now I'm sure you are. You're still in zombie mode for a while. So,
Shit. 90% of NFL Sundays, I'm watching a game. Next thing I know is like, oh shit, what happened to the game?
yeah. Oh yeah, dude. No, man. Yeah, I fall asleep a lot for the late games. It doesn't work anymore, man. It's like unless I'm out at the bar with somebody, which never happens anymore. It's
Yeah.
yeah, I get on the couch and I'm just like I'm out. So, well, hey, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Yeah, it was a nice Thanksgiving, and yeah, let's switch things over to Name That Stadium. So this is the part of the show for anybody who's watching. As you can see, James is out there traveling the country. He's got a new stadium in his background every week. Typically, it is a stadium for a home team that's playing in a game this weekend. And basically, what we're asking is that if you think you know what stadium that is, hit us up in our comments section. If you're the first person to get it right, we'll give you a shout out in next week's show. And so, James, where are you at last week, man?
Last week I was in Jerry World in Dallas, whatever, AT&T Stadium.
Yeah, dude, I've not been there, but I have heard that place is just freaking phenomenal, man.
Yeah, I've heard the same. Uh, I kind of picked it like I kind of cheated and expanded to Thanksgiving football for that because I thought that was the best game of all the choices. I thought the Dallas Raiders game between Sunday and Monday and then Thursday, that was the best game. So
Well, nice. Yeah, and it turned out to be pretty good when it went to overtime. So,
yeah,
I think you nailed it on that pick. Well, sweet. I like that inspiration. And yeah, good stuff. So let's kick it over. We'll do our recap of the past week. And so James, man, it just sounds like we were talking a little bit before the show. Lots of injuries again. It seems like
Mhm.
it's almost every week we're talking about guys going down. Some are more serious than others. The big one, which you were just telling me about, is Bills cornerback Tre'Davious White. Looks like he's going to be out for the season with a torn ACL. That sucks for those guys, dude.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, it's Buffalo. Things got a little rocky for them in recent weeks, and then it seemed like last night they kind of locked it down again, and now it's like, oh man, this is one of those kind of moves where you're losing one of your top dogs on defense. It could hurt them down the stretch, but maybe it's early enough before the playoffs where they got time to kind of find some guys to like work around it and adjust the scheme and whatever they got to do. But because honestly, I felt like after watching last night's game, Buffalo's like one of the more complete teams I think in the league this year. And
Hmm.
I know it all kind of revolves around what happens with Josh Allen, but the defense is great. The offense, when it's all clicking, is like freaking just electric. I mean, it's a team that could make a serious Super Bowl run, but they gotta stay as healthy as they can from here on out, I think. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, they hit a little bit of a hiccup, and I think this hurts a lot. Like, I mean, just him going down makes me seriously question whether or not they have what it takes to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
and
mean, hell, they still have to win their division.
that's true. Yeah, they've slipped out of that now, and it's tough because I mean, you look at New England clearly has the momentum now, and last night's game was good for Buffalo to start making that push to get it back, but it's like, holy shit, man, that hype train is starting to roll in New England.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, other injuries. I saw wide receiver AJ Brown from the Titans. It looks like he's going to miss this week. He's got a chest injury. Um, Man, you know, I don't know. What do you think? To me, it's like it seems like AJ Brown always has something going on, and it seems like he plays a lot, so he's playing through injury. But it's like crap, man. This guy's on an injury report every week, like of his entire career, man. Ah, it just bums
Yeah,
me
it
out.
feels like it. It feels like it. And I mean, I think this is only the this will be the second time he missed a game this year.
Yeah,
But it's like it seems like I mean Tennessee, they have injury problems all left and right too. Like I mean they lost on the offense. That I mean is Julio
Derek.
back yet, and they have Derrick Henry, and they have Dupree was out this past week. Like they just have like a whole shitload of injuries down there.
Oh yeah. Well, here, let's kick it the other way. Let's do some positive stuff. So, Cleveland Browns at least, they got guys getting healthy at good timing too as they start making their final run. Kareem Hunt looks like he's going to be coming back from IR. Same with offensive tackle Jack Conklin. Those are two huge pieces for them. They just got Chubb back a couple weeks ago. Um, Man, I think that's like this is what the Browns need going into the playoffs. They got their two-headed running attack, and they got their offensive line back where they need it. That's the bread and butter for these guys, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they keep that running game going. That's when Baker shines, is when that running game's hitting and they have the offensive line to do that.
Oh, take all that pressure off for sure, man, big time. So, other news wise, anything big that you pick up on? I know, like, have you heard what's going on with Swift and the shoulder injury?
No, I haven't heard what's going on with Swift and the shoulder injury. The one thing was like it was kind of a scary, fucked up situation. Was it Wednesday morning, Thursday morning with Everson Griffin?
Oh, I only heard a little bit about that. Something about a 911 call, and he ended up
So,
cooperating. So it sounded like it
oh,
was, like, tell me what happened there, man.
so he was like posting to Instagram that somebody was in his house trying to kill him, like literally legit hallucinating. There was nobody in the
Oh my
house,
gosh.
and like he apparently he has a gun, and he like fired it in his house, but nobody was hit, and he called 911, and then he wouldn't come out of the house. It was like he had like a whole mental break. I mean, it was like it happened at like 3 a.m. In Minnesota, and finally at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Minnesota, he came out of the house.
That's some scary stuff, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've seen him the last, couple seasons starting to bounce around a little bit, and just there's been some concern. And the mental health thing was something that came out, and it's wow, hallucinations. That's some scary stuff, man. I
Yeah.
don't I don't know.
Eight.
you
I
know,
don't know if it's hallucinations, but like that's my characterization of it is like
okay.
or paranoia. Like you remember, like was it 17 or 18? He stepped away for a bit for mental health issues,
Yeah.
and then he just this was just like it was really fucked up.
Well, I hope he gets it figured out, man. That's scary.
Hmm.
Um, Jeez. Especially when firearms are involved. That's a recipe for disaster. Anything else news-wise?
I think that was about it.
That's the gist of it. Okay. Well, if you're good, I'm good. We'll move on. Let's do our Week 12 power rankings. And, I'll just kind of like preemptively say going into this, every week I read sort of like some of the recaps on NFL.com, ESPN, obviously. Like I check all my different sources, and there were some interesting stats and things that I picked up off specifically off of NFL.com this week. But I'll pop them in there as we go as we're doing our power rankings. So why don't you kick it off and give me 1 through 5, man?
All right, so my as always this week, as soon as I put a team one, two, or three, they lose. So my top three teams lost again this week. So I moved Arizona up to number one. You know, I think I kind of just have to leave Arizona at number one. This team is legit. I mean, they're winning games. They're beating teams down with their backup quarterback right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like that Arizona is the team to beat in the NFL right now, or at least the NFC. At number two, I have the Buccaneers. Uh, this is more of a product of the the Cowboys, the Packers, and the Bills lost, and I was really disappointed with how they lost last week. So those teams dropped, and the Bucks kind of went up to to two, and I don't know if this it doesn't feel right having them at two the way the defense is playing. The defense
Yeah.
looked a little bit better, but it was against the Giants. Let's see what happens this week, but it doesn't feel right having them this high. At number three, I have the Chargers. You know, I've been beating the drum for the Chargers all season. I think this team is legit. I think I just something as I watch them, I see the potential for a Super Bowl run. And I saw that in preseason when I jokingly said, "How about the all LA Super Bowl?" And I think it's still a legit possibility.
Okay.
At number four, I have the Bills. The Bills got beat down by the Colts. Beat the fuck down.
Yeah. 41 to
And
15.
that was really shocking. And I didn't move the Colts up that much on it because it felt to me like the Bills just didn't show up versus the Colts dominating
Okay.
when I watched the game. It was like I saw a lot of mistakes on defensively for the Bills that kind of I think that led to Jonathan Taylor scoring 700 touchdowns in the game. At five, I have the Dallas. I have Dallas. I have the Cowboys. I forget. I'm drawing a blank on who they played last week, right off the top of my head.
Dallas lost to Kansas City 19-9.
Yeah, 19-9. That's right. Thank you. That offense. I don't know what it was with that game. It looked like Dallas. Kansas City's defense is not as good as Dallas made them look. Dallas couldn't move the ball.
Yeah.
They just couldn't do shit in that game, and that was very concerning. So basically 1, 2, and 3 bumped up 3 spots. 4 and 5 dropped down 3 spots each.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll tell you, my top is messed up. In fact, actually, my power rankings all around are a little bit funky this week, and so um, I kept Arizona at 1, and Colt McCoy is 2-1 in his 3 games without Kyler Murray there, keeping them afloat at the top. I'm just digging this team, man. I like it. Despite the injuries, they're still winning games. Uh, I got Green Bay at 2, which is probably a little bit ridiculous since they just lost. And I didn't have them at 2 last week, so I actually bumped them up a spot. This is just because I'm going to tell you what, man, everybody in this range on my board lost. And I just had to step back. I was looking at some of their records. Green Bay's still sitting at 8-3. I'm looking past the loss just because of the whole range on the board's jacked up. And I just kind of said, okay, do I like him better than this team? Do I like him better than that team? What am I doing here? I was tempted to float the Rams back up to 2, but I thought, you know what? If it came down to it, and I'm talking today, the way Stafford's been playing like shit lately, I trust Green Bay more. And so I just said, fuck it. I'm keeping Green Bay. I'm putting them at 2, and that's just how I'm going to do it for this week. At 3, I got the Rams, and so they still got a 1 spot bump, even though they were on a bye week, and that's just the benefit of 4 of my top 6 teams losing this past week.
Mm-hmm.
And then at 4, I got the Buccaneers. I like this team. I like them a lot, and I think their defense is getting better as the year goes on. I think that's something that you were talking about last week. Is that that's kind of how it worked out last year for them. Is that it wasn't until later in the year that that defense really started to lock down. Um, I am concerned though with these guys. They're 5-0 at home, 2-3 on the road, but they still got Tom Brady. And I know they're getting some pieces back on defense. It looks like Carlton Davis can be coming back. Some other guys going to help that defense get better. And then at 5, I got the Patriots. I bumped them up 3 spots. And I just look at a lot of the teams in this range, and they're all sitting at somewhere between 6 and 8 wins. And now the Patriots are at uh, 7-4. Sorry, I was trying to find my note. And the momentum is there. I mean, it's like this Patriots defense is looking like a vintage Bill Belichick defense. And offensively, you know, I might sound crazy, or maybe a little. Maybe I'm just kind of jumping the gun, but Mac Jones is fitting in that offense kind of like a younger version of Tom Brady, the way that he could just kind of make it all come together, very efficient, not trying to force things because they're running the ball very well. And he's doing a lot of the things that Josh McDaniels wants him to do. And so it's like, this is only going to get better for these guys, man. I mean, honestly, I love what's going on in New England. It's working. And it took a little bit of time. The start of the year was a disaster, but they're getting there. And a Belichick team typically gets better as the year goes on. I would not expect them to regress like we've seen with certain other teams. So that's my top 5, man. Back to you, 6 through 10.
At 6, I have the Packers. Now, I hear what you're saying about trusting the Packers more than some of the other teams in this range. I dropped them 3 spots. They lost to Minnesota. I shouldn't have been surprised they lost to Minnesota. I actually almost picked Minnesota in the game. I thought it was going to be a close game, and the keys to the game kind of panned out the way in Minnesota's favor versus Green Bay's favor. At 7, I have the Rams. This will be an interesting game this week. The Rams and the Packers. These are 2 legit Super Bowl contenders in the NFC, and it'll go a long way to determining who gets the home field advantage in the playoffs. They didn't play last week. They didn't move. I did something that just last week I said I probably wouldn't do going forward, and that's I bumped the Colts above the Titans.
Okay.
And the Colts just beat down Buffalo. Just beat them down. Yeah, I just said that it was a lot of mistakes I saw on defense for Buffalo, but good on the Colts for being able to take advantage of that. And so they jumped up 1 spot to 8. The Ravens jumped up 1 spot to 9. They won. They beat Chicago. It was a little bit closer than I would have liked the game to be.
Yeah.
But they won the game, and they were without Lamar too. So Lamar's coming back this week. Everything's right. To be able to win with your backup, that tells me a lot about the team. At number 10, the Bengals, they moved up one spot. The Bengals, who did they play? They played Vegas, and they kind of beat down Vegas, which is about what I expected of the game. I don't know why. It's weird. All six teams that played on Thanksgiving lost this past Sunday.
Oh wow, I didn't even pay attention to that.
The Raiders lost, Dallas lost, the Lions lost, the Bears lost, New Orleans lost, Buffalo lost.
Holy cow.
All six teams that played on Thanksgiving Day lost this previous Sunday.
That's a strange setup, man. I wouldn't have expected something like that.
Yeah,
That's
I
it's
wouldn't have
interesting you
expected
picked
that
up on
either.
it.
And so, but Cincinnati, Cincinnati's flirted with my top 10. I've had them higher, I've had them a little lower, but right around this range is where I've had Cincinnati all year. I think they're a good all-around team. Um, I think that they have some pieces they need to be legit Super Bowl contenders, but they're on the fringe.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay, so over on my side here, I got Buffalo at 6. I dropped them down one spot. It was an ugly loss, like we talked about, but I still think they're one of the more complete teams in the league. I am getting a little bit nervous with them sitting at 6-4 now. Um, a lot of the teams I've got in this range on my board have at least one win up on them, and so that
Mhm.
it makes me start to wonder, you know, are they that good or what's going on? And if they're that good, they gotta start pulling away with wins. I mean, that's how it works. And so, um, at 7, I got Tennessee. I dropped them down 5 spots, and it was just not a good look, man, to be losing to Houston. And I know that they've got injuries, and like here's the one thing with Tennessee, they've been nothing but surprises all year. They surprised us with losing to the Jets. They surprised us with like beating every fucking playoff team on their schedule. And now they surprised us again by losing to Houston. And so this is just how they roll this year. They're just going to keep surprising us every week. At 8, I've got the Chiefs. I moved them up one spot. Honestly, I was tempted to move them higher because it seems like they're heating up. They've won 4 straight. People are talking about the defense coming around. Um, I just don't trust them yet, James. I just don't trust them. And so, sitting at 7-4, if they keep winning, yeah, I'm going to have to probably start moving back in that direction with these guys. But they just were so fucking awful to start the year. It just makes me nervous. At 9, I got Dallas. I dropped them down 3 spots, and it just seemed to make sense, seeing as how they just lost to Kansas City. So I was kind of like, okay, Dallas now sitting at 7-3. Not counting last night, but uh, you know, Kansas City 7-4. It made sense on the board. And then at 10, I got Baltimore. I had them at 10 last week. I like that they beat the Bears with the backup quarterback, but I didn't want to put too much weight into that game because it's the Bears, and the Bears are one of my worst teams this year. I'm not digging them at all, and so I kept them there. They're still in the top 10, but I do have some concerns with the Ravens. Back to you at 11, man.
Well, and with your Kansas City Dallas, it makes sense to have them that order, seeing as though Kansas City just beat Dallas and
Yeah.
basically shut down Dallas's entire offense. I didn't have them relatively that close. If I did, I probably would have put them in the same order you had them. At 11, I have the Titans. I dropped the Titans way down when they lost Derrick Henry, and they crept
Yeah.
back up. They crept back up into the top 10 with how they were playing, and I think they had got them all the way up to 8 last week, and then I dropped them down 3 spots to 11. At 12, I have the Patriots. Even though they won this past week, they didn't move, and this is more of a function of what happened around ahead of them. And I don't think they're better than the Titans, and I don't think they're better than the Bengals. And it's like, where can I move them? Them and San Francisco. It's like teams right directly behind these two lost. Teams right directly ahead of them won, and it's like I can't. And there's so
Yeah.
San Francisco and New England stayed at 12 and 13. San Francisco is. I keep saying this, but then they keep winning. San Francisco is probably going to drop. They're probably going to drop, but I just can't. I just can't justify it when I sit down and actually do it because they're like every time I look at it, they won this past week, and then I expect them to win, and they lose, and I drop them a little bit, and then they like surprise us again. At 14, I have the Cleveland Browns. They moved up once. I'm sorry. Yeah, 14, I have the Cleveland Browns. They moved up one spot. Um, Especially with them getting healthy. Um, I wasn't impressed with how close the game was to Detroit, but as this team gets healthier, the, the better this team is. And once you have that two-headed monster running back, you have the healthy offensive line. I think Baker will calm down and stop making the mistakes he's making. And at 15, I have the Chiefs. They moved up one spot. You said it all with the Chiefs. I don't know what to say of the team. Like they've won four in a row. We thought Mahomes was back, but then they only scored 19 points. So it's like the defense is looking better, but and one of the things is they moved not Chandler. Who's their they moved him back to his natural position. Chris Jones? That's not his name.
Their defensive lineman, Chris Jones.
Yeah, Chris Jones. They moved him like they had him on the edge and they moved him to the interior
Oh
or
yeah.
something or something. Like they when they got who'd they just get? I'm drawing a blank. It's been a long ass week. Forgive me. I have to look
Yeah,
at
it's
it.
all good. Yeah. Yeah, he was normally defensive tackle. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
so
they moved him outside to start the season, and then they moved him back inside when they got ah
you'll find it. Here. While you're looking, I'll start going
I
through
for,
mine.
I forget who they got.
All right, all right.
They made a pickup and they moved Chris Jones back to the inside and that's when this defense started to turn around. Oh, the Melvin Ingram.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go. Thank you. Yeah. See, I couldn't even help you on that one, so don't feel bad. Um, yeah, and it's working for them. So for me at 11, I got Cleveland. I kept them where they were last week. You know, I I do worry that it should have been a more decisive win over Detroit, but yeah, some injury issues. That's all kind of turning around for them. The one thing that I thought was interesting, and this is one of these NFL.com things that I saw, it's the first time they beat Detroit since 2001. They've lost four straight. And I guess when I first saw it, I was like, wow, like really? And then it kind of dawned on me that like up until very recently, Cleveland's been a bottom feeder team, just like Detroit. And so I guess I just think, oh, Cleveland's so good. How could they have not beat Detroit? Well, it's because they just got good. So, um, but yeah, interesting stuff. At 12, I got the Colts. I moved them up one spot. Could have definitely gone up further, but I want to just kind of pace myself with these guys. Don't want it to overheat. I did see another NFL.com stat deal here. Jonathan Taylor, his 200 plus scrimmage yards, five TDs. He's the fifth player in the Super Bowl era to pull that off. Pretty impressive. And I know a lot of people are focusing on him, and we're going to talk more about him later when we get to the question of the week, James. Just a little heads up for you. But, this whole team is playing really good football, man. I know that they didn't really need Carson Wentz to do anything this past week, but in past weeks, he has done great. He's had a lot of multi touchdown games, and the defense has been playing rock solid, like you would expect. I'm really digging this Colts team, dude. I really am. We knew that the start of the year was going to be dicey, and it's progressed exactly how I think we were hoping it would have for this team.
We mentioned Wentz. Carson Wentz has 6 games with 2+ touchdowns and 0 interceptions.
It's impressive.
Only 2 quarterbacks have more games with 2+ touchdowns and 0 interceptions than him, and that's Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins, and both of them have 7.
Yeah. Wentz is,
So I,
yeah, he's getting it done, dude. He's getting it done.
exactly.
I'm digging it, dude. I'm digging it. I'm digging this, and it's. I think it's a good. Um, the way that it's working out for them is working in their favor, in my opinion, because they started the year so bad. They're just not on anybody's radar, and I think that's going to help them as their inertia continues to build. Watch out for this team, dude. And I mean, I think Jonathan Taylor's putting him on the radar now, but
Mhm.
it's I'm digging him. At 13, I got the Chargers. I put them up one spot from last week. Um, man, I'm just hesitant. I know that you're like super high on them, and they're at 6-4 now, and so they're getting, they're creeping up the board, and that's good. Hopefully they keep winning. I'll keep moving them up. I just, the one thing I got on this was Austin Eckler. He's like the master Swiss Army knife, man. 2 reception touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. I love that dude, man. I think that's, you know, I, I like that guy. That's all I can say. At 14, I got the Bengals. I dropped them down 2 spots. Probably not a fair thing to do, seeing as how they had a solid win this past week. But basically, this was a board reset for me when I was looking at them in comparison to the Colts in the Chargers. I just paused and I said, you know what? I like those 2 guys better. All 3 of these teams are sitting at 6 wins. I'm just going to make the change now. They all came off a win. I'm just restacking the deck. It's not to knock the Bengals. It's just that I like those 2 teams a little bit more. And so it was just a shift. At 15, I got the Vikings. I moved them up 2 spots. I had them leapfrog the 49ers, who I've had above them for a while, probably all year actually. Um, I just started going back, looking at all my notes on the Vikings and looking at all my notes on the 49ers. And it seems like every week I keep talking about the Vikings are playing good, hard football. They're staying in games. They're just not closing. And now this past week, they got a good quality win against a good quality team. The 49ers, on the other hand, it's like my note every week is like this team just seems like they're in disarray. And so I thought, okay, now with this win, Minnesota at 5-5, San Fran also at 5-5. I thought, okay, I'm going to take this opportunity, put Minnesota one spot up, and I think they're playing in a couple weeks, so that'll be, a nice
Fine this
kind of
week.
time to find out who's really ahead of who. But yeah, that was my logic for that action.
They're actually playing this week.
Oh shit, I don't know why I thought it was a couple weeks out yet, but I guess I would have, yeah, I should check my notes because I would have had to pick that game, wouldn't
Yeah.
I?
For me at 16, I have the Saints. I dropped them 2 spots. I wanted to drop them more for losing to Philly, but I think they are the better team. I think it was just the plethora of injuries they had in the Philly game that kind of killed them, and so they dropped 2 spots. They'll probably actually drop a little bit more after just getting beat down last night. So this is just for this week. They're at 16.
Sure.
At 17, 18, and 19, this is another area where the teams right ahead of them won mostly. The teams right behind them lost mostly. And so it's like Washington stayed at 17, the Raiders stayed at 18, the Seahawks stayed at 19. It feels high for the Raiders, even though they did beat Dallas. I think the team's really inconsistent. It feels high for the Raiders and the Washington football team when I look at it, but when when you dive into it, this is about right record wise for them. They're about the middle of the league a little bit below the middle of the league, and they play that every week. Washington football team, I've been reluctant to drop them. You killed them a couple weeks ago, and I've just been reluctant to drop them because I really like what I see out of this. I see flashes out
Yeah,
of it. Like they just beat Tom Brady in Tampa Bay
yeah.
2 weeks ago, but then uh, who did they play this past? Like then this past week they go out there and they lay an egg. Uh, Oh no, they won this past week. They beat
Yeah, they
Carolina.
beat Carolina. Yeah.
I was thinking I'm got games confused. So yeah, they beat Carolina, but I mean they should have smoked Carolina.
Yeah.
So we'll see. At 20, I have the Vikings. They got a 3 spot bump from beating the Packers. Look, Kirk Cousins is having a season. Like I just said, he's had 7 2+ touchdown games. He's only thrown 2 interceptions. Is it still two? I believe it's still 2 interceptions this season. That's
Oh man, I don't
ridiculous.
even know, but yeah, that's ultra efficient is what that
Yeah.
is.
I'm pretty sure it's still 2 interceptions, and Minnesota, like you said, Minnesota just they have what looks like a solid team. It's just they can't close it out. They can't they finally did against Green Bay, but it's like every week in and week out we're saying, oh, Minnesota blew another game. Minnesota
Yep.
blew another game. Excuse me. Let me pull this out. I swear it's still 2 interceptions. Because that was one of the keys going into last week. If Cousins throws an interception, oh no, it was a different key. Uh, yeah, he has 21 touchdowns and 2 interceptions this season.
Jeez.
21-2.
Yeah. I like this guy, man. It'd be nice if their defense consistently played better and, gave him a little bit of relief, but
Yeah.
that's okay. And I've not heard Zimmer bashing him as much lately like he's done in past years. And so that's a good thing. Because I think Cousins is one of those like unheralded quarterbacks that he gets it done, man. It's just nobody
Mhm.
else on that team's doing him any favors. I mean, Delvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, yeah, I mean, but it's like the defense has been what's been letting this team down for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So,
And maybe the kicking game, special teams. Aha. Well, hey, I like hearing that. 21-2. That's pretty awesome.
yeah,
Uh,
it's ridiculous.
All right, so for me at 16, I got the 49ers. I kind of, talked about that as I was closing off 15 with the Vikings. At 17, I got the Steelers. I dropped them down one spot. I like that they kept that game interesting. At least you can say that against the Chargers. It just ultimately they lost, and so they're going down a spot. Um, at 18, I got the Saints. I dropped them down 3 spots. I I have them, converging with Philly on my board. They're now just a couple spots apart from each other. But I do, like you're saying, believe the Saints are the better team. It's just, I don't know. I feel like if they played more times than not, the Saints would win. It ended up being in Philly's favor that game. At 19, I got the Raiders. I kept them where they were at despite the loss. I just couldn't really find a good place to put them. When I started looking at teams from here on out, I'm thinking, man, I think the Raiders are better than these guys. It's almost like they kind of hit that floor where, unless they really start losing a lot of games, I'd have a hard time dropping them much farther than this. And then at 20, I got Philly. And so I brought them up by 3 spots. How much of that was that it was a good game on their part or a bad game on New Orleans' part? I don't really know. But Philly, they've had some surprise games this year. And so, I feel pretty good putting them at 20 at this point. So back to you at 21, man.
I just wanted to look up I was going for one stat, and then
Sure.
I'll get back to it. Okay. All right, at 21, I have the Giants. They dropped down one spot. I probably should have killed them more, but it's like the people. It's like much below one spot. You had all people that lost, so it's
Yeah.
like you had to go back like 5, 6 spots to find a team that won in this range. And so I could only really drop them one spot and feel comfortable with it. Maybe I could have maybe done a second one, but I think they're better than the Steelers, and that's saying a lot because this because the Giants are pretty shitty, a pretty shitty team. I have the Steelers at 22. They also dropped down one spot. Look, I've been down on the Steelers all year. I know you're high on them, and I
I'm not that high on them, but I got them at 17. They're in the bottom half.
yeah, I've been down on them, and like I'm surprised they got up this high on my
Yeah,
board. It's, I mean they should fight against the Chargers, yeah, but they tied the fucking Lions.
yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, there's a backup quarterback, but they tied the fucking Lions, and there's no way a team this high should tie the Lions. I don't care who's playing quarterback. At, at 23, wait, wasn't that the Tim Boyle game too that they tied the Lions? So it was two backup quarterbacks,
No, I think that was
or
the
was that the
golf
game that Goff?
game. That was the golf game where Goff like wasn't even throwing because
Yeah.
he hurt himself, but they wouldn't pull him out of the game.
Okay. Okay. Whatever. I just got the games because they played the AFC North 2 games in a row. So I
Yeah,
just got it. Panthers dropped down one spot. They're at 23. Um, they lost to Washington. They deserve to be dropped. Like the Panthers, I see this team coming together, but they have to get over that edge and win those games. At 24, I have the Broncos. They didn't play last week. They didn't move on my board. They it's just like it's like they're having the fire sale. They're getting rid of players. They just traded Von Miller, and then the first thing they do after trading him is win. So it's like you're giving up, but you're not giving up, but they're not out of it because I think every team in their division, but I want to verify this, but I think it's like 6-4, 5-5. I think, yeah. So it's Chiefs are 7-4, the Chargers are 6-4, the Raiders are 6-5, the Broncos are 5-5. They're all within like a game and a half of each other.
yep.
This is like basically any team's division, so it feels wrong having them somebody that has such a legitimate shot at winning their division right now to have them or making the playoffs to have them at 24. But I don't trust the team.
Yeah, I hear you.
At 25, I have the Eagles. They bumped up 2 spots. They took advantage of a lot of injuries that the Saints have and Trevor Siemian, which back to the Saints, the Trevor Siemian experiment needs to be over. They need to go out and find a fucking real quarterback that can throw the ball. Siemian is not the answer. Or play Ian
Taysom
Book.
Hill.
Like see what Ian Book has, because Siemian is not the answer there.
Hey,
And
Notre
Ian
Dame,
Book,
Ian Book.
yeah, Ian Book was inactive on Thursdays, which surprised me. But and Taysom Hill wasn't too injured to sign a ridiculous hybrid contract, which was weird. Did you hear about that?
So all I heard was that it was like something for 10 million a year, but then yeah, I heard something about this
So
hybrid thing, and I don't know what the hell
so
I.
so if he stays, it's like if he stays in the role he's in, it's X value, right? It's like 60. It's a 6-year, $60 million contract.
Okay,
If he becomes their quarterback, it's a 6-year, $95 million contract.
okay, yeah. So you're talking, like an additional 50%
hmm
plus on it. But like, so how much? Because it's not like a game by game. It's like,
I
you
don't,
know,
I don't know. Like
or
I,
maybe it is. I
I,
don't know.
I didn't bring it up in the news. I think it was this past week. I didn't bring it up in the news because I don't fully understand it. Like it's just weird. It's a hybrid contract. What the hell is a hybrid contract? Like, who thinks to negotiate a contract like this?
Well, it's
I'll
progressive.
just, yeah, I, but then again, it's also possibly manipulating the cap hit because
Ooh, yeah.
you know what happens if at the start of the league year or whenever they have to cut down to the 53-man roster, it's the cap hit for that season is what they're projected or what more likely than not is going to be their pay for that year. Like for instance, if you have performance bonuses and it's not likely that those players are going to make those bonuses, then they don't count against the cap. They count against the next year's cap. So with Taysom Hill, they could theoretically go into the season, have no intention of playing him at quarterback up until right before the first game of the season, and say, "Oh, he's our quarterback." The kicks in the $95 million contract for that season,
Yeah.
and then they don't get the cap hit till the next year for it.
Yeah, it seems like the league would have to come in and, like force them to shave some salaries from somewhere else or something. But I don't know. That brings up an interesting point where it could be some manipulation.
That's the other story I forgot about in the news. Looks like the league is settling with the city of St. Louis over the moving of the Rams.
Okay.
But it's $790 million, which is like 25 million per team, for all the shady deals that happened right before the Rams moved, like changing, like right before they announced them, or like right after they announced the move, the St. Louis was like, well, you didn't follow your own relocation guidelines. Oh, those don't mean anything. We can change them when we want, or actively going out and campaigning for people to vote against a new stadium proposal in St. Louis and shit like that. But I got sidetracked. I'm sorry. The Eagles, they moved up 2 spots. I think the Eagles are. I mean, they're showing us what they are. This is about right for them. Jalen Hurts. I came in saying he's not a starting quarterback. I think he deserves the shot to see what he can do because
Yeah.
he's winning games. He's carrying this team. They have like no talent on that offense, and
Yeah.
they're winning games.
Yeah, no,
So
I like it. I think he's done enough to keep rolling with him. You got to remember he's still extremely young. Like give the
mm,
guy a little bit more time to develop, and then you'll know what you got. But I wouldn't give up on him yet. Okay, so over to my side. At 21, I got Denver. They didn't play last week and they didn't move. It's funny how it worked out for them. It doesn't. Seems like every week I got guys on bye and I'm moving them up. I don't know what's going on there. But 22, I got Seattle. I dropped them down 2 spots. At 3 and 7, man, I just I'm starting to let go of the vine, man. I can't keep hanging them up there when they keep losing, and so it is what it is. 23, I
well,
got Wash.
it's over in Seattle. It's over. That team's going to be broke apart this offseason a year too late. And I think that Carroll's going to get fired.
Wow, it's crazy to think that, but it's such a
Mhm.
bad year. All right, at 23, I got Washington. I thought it was a nice road win. I'm still not expecting much from these guys, but I do see the signs of life that you're talking about. I'm just not there with you where I guess my expectations are just low. And if they beat the expectations, that's cool. Then I'll feel good about them. But I'm not going crazy. They're at 4 and 6. Carolina, I got them at 24. I dropped them down 2 spots. It's just blows my mind here how quick that shine or fad or whatever the hype on Cam just disappeared. He comes out the first week as a starter, or I don't even know if he really started last week, or the week before. But either way, they lose to Washington, and it's like nobody's talking about Cam. Like that faded
He played
fast.
like 5 plays the week before last.
Yeah, there we go.
It just so happened that his first two plays he was actually in the game on, he like ran for a touchdown and threw for a touchdown. I don't remember which order it was.
And so that's where the hype came in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at 25, I got Miami. I wanted to bump these guys, given the win, but it was a win over the Jets, and so I'm just going to say it wasn't that impressive. That's the bottom line, and I'm just not sure that they're better than Carolina or Washington or some of these teams that I have ahead of them on the board, um, maybe they'll change my mind. But, I'm keeping them where they're at for now. Back to you at 26, my friend.
26, I have the Dolphins. They bumped up 2 spots for me. And this, I agree with you. It was a win over the Jets. I've seen a lot of signs of life with this defense. This defense is starting to come around and look better and look better and look better. And I like what I see. Plus, the teams immediately ahead of them lost. I was trying to say they got their ass kicked, but it wasn't too bad with the Bears. But yeah, the team, because I had the Bears and the Falcons immediately ahead of Miami last week.
Okay.
Speaking of the Falcons, they are a couple spots ahead. Atlanta, I have them at 27 now. They lost 25-0 to New England. This is what I was saying last year going into the draft that Atlanta should not draft Kyle Pitts, and the reason for that was they need a quarterback. They should have cut bait with Matt Ryan in the offseason and taken that cap hit because he looks washed up. He looks really washed up this season. Running game can't get going. I'm in fantasy. I dropped Mike Davis because they're not doing shit in the running game.
Yeah, it's so bad.
And to think that this coach had Derrick Henry and was amazing in the running game, but it shows you that it's more Derrick Henry than the coaching.
Yeah.
At 28, I have the Texans. The Texans beat one of my top tier teams. It was 22-13, but they still beat them. They went up to a big lead. They got a big lead. Tennessee started to come back in the game, and Houston was able to fight them off and hold on for the win. It's impressive. Plus, I think they're actually now better and performing better than the teams I have behind them. So they got a 3-spot bump for that win. The Bears, I have them at 29. I dropped them 3 spots for losing to Baltimore because this team, first of all, the team looks in disarray. Justin Fields got hurt. I don't think Andy Dalton's the answer at quarterback. I feel better about it, how they barely were able to put together a win over the pathetic Lions, which, speaking of the Lions, I'll get to the Lions in a minute.
All right.
At 30, I have the Jaguars. I dropped them down 1 spot. They lost to San Francisco. They got their ass kicked by San Francisco. It wasn't a surprise, but really it's more of Houston jumped from behind them to ahead of them. And so Jaguars are now holding the number 30 spot.
Okay. All right. So I got the Giants at 26. I don't think anybody had any kind of real expectation that they were going to beat, the Buccaneers. But, luckily for them, everybody else in this range on my board lost. So there was really nowhere for them to fall. Same goes with 27 with Atlanta. I was tempted to drop them, but everybody behind them, pretty much lost as well. So it didn't matter. With Atlanta, interesting though, this was their first shutout at home, their shutout loss at home since 1988, man. Pretty wild.
Mm-hmm.
At 28, I got Jacksonville. They lost to a clearly superior team, but everybody else around them lost too. So same story here, broken record. 29, same exact thing. Chicago, they're better than some of the other scrubs in this range. This was an interesting one too that I wanted to point out. Chicago, man, they've lost 8 straight games after their bye week. How the fuck does that happen, James?
I don't know. Well, the last four I can see because they have somebody that should not be a head coach as their head coach. I was surprised that I thought Fox was a good head coach, so I was surprised to see that it happened in the Fox era too. John Fox whatever his first name is.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was actually a decent coach. He just was a factor of circumstances. Management wasn't on the same page as him. They drafted Mitchell Trubisky without him
Yeah.
even knowing we're going to draft him. So, but yeah, I agree with you. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's bad. You got to win those games after the bye. I mean, that's that's your best chance of getting a win. Um, and then, all right, and then at 30, I got Houston. I moved him up one spot. I definitely did not see that win coming, James. But, I didn't see the Jets getting that same win over the Titans either. So I don't want to go too crazy. Um, yeah, dumpster fire time, 31-32.
All right, 31. I have the Jets. They dropped down one spot. This is the Jets, the Jaguars, the Bears, the Lions. You can put those three teams in any order really here. Uh, the Lions, once they win, they might move up. Actually, the Lions at 32. If I could rank them below 32, I would. Let me change this. At 32, I have the Georgia Bulldogs.
Oh, shit.
At 33, I have the Ohio State Buckeyes. At 34, I have the Michigan Wolverines. At 35, at 60, I have the Detroit Lions. That's how
Damn.
pathetic this team is.
They're not even the best team in their own state, is what you're telling me.
They're not even the second best team in their own state. They might not even be the fifth best team in their own state.
Oh, jeez. Well, all right. So, I mean, I agree with you at 31 and 32. I got the Jets and then the Lions. With the Jets, for me, it was kind of a what have you done for me lately kind of thing. Houston just got the win, the Jets got the loss, and so I flipped them on my board. But I agree, a lot of these teams in this bottom tier, they're sort of interchangeable. I think the Lions are the clear bottom team, but they've hung into some games, which is blowing my mind at how close they've been. Baltimore, with this against Cleveland. I mean, there's so many of them. So many of them were one-score games, and they just couldn't figure it out. The bottom line is they continue to lose, and um, I don't know. It is what it is. They're sucking it up. So whatever. That's it.
Wait,
That's
how long was the field goal yesterday to win the game?
It was a short one. It wasn't like the Minnesota one that was 50 yards or the Baltimore one that was fucking 900 fucking million yard record deal.
Yeah, I was just curious if it was a third game they lost with a 50-plus yarder, but
No, no, this one they got real close and it was just a little chip shot at the end. Like I think Dalton took a knee at like the 10-yard line or something and they kicked it
yeah,
from there.
it was like an extra point.
Yeah,
No.
basically. Yeah.
Okay. It just occurred to me, so
Yeah,
I,
as luck would
I
have it.
couldn't
Yeah.
remember. Yeah.
I gotcha. All right, well, here, let's kick it over to our game picks. Season to date, James, we are still sucking ass. You got 90 wins, I got 98. Good for 55% and 60% respectively. I'm still almost exclusively using my power rankings as my basis for my picks. Um, and it's not working. It's just not working. I don't know what to do at this point. I feel like I got to just ride it out. But maybe I'll get desperate here and start going back to the model and see if the model does something different this year. Because clearly, I was at like 2/3 last year. That's significantly different, but it is what it is. So let's talk about last night. We had 3 Thursday night games. You nailed two of them. I only nailed one of them, man. So, yeah, I had Detroit. I knew I was getting a little bit gutsy with that pick, but I also kind of thought, you know what? Maybe this is their last chance at getting a win. And so I rolled the dice, and then I picked Dallas. I thought they were the superior team over the Raiders, and then I had the Bills, and so I was 1 for 3. You nailed 2 for 3. How do you feel about last night's games, man?
Well, I I don't blame you for picking the Lions. Actually, with all the disarray that was going on with Chicago coming into the game, I almost switched to the Lions in the game. I came this close to it, but I was like, no, I'm just going to go with the Bears. In it. Speaking of that game, the the fucking stupidest penalty in the NFL is the fact that if well, okay, so you can't call 2 timeouts in a row. I
Yeah,
understand that.
yeah,
But if you do call 2 timeouts in a row, you get a penalty for calling the second timeout and you lose the second timeout.
yeah.
If you're going to penalize me for calling the timeout, leave me the fuck alone with the timeout. Let me have the timeout or
Yeah,
just give me the timeout.
yeah, it's like a double whammy. I hear you.
Yeah.
Somebody write a letter
And
to Sean Payton. Maybe he'll bring it
then,
up in the offseason.
and then the Raiders the Cowboys game, there was something like 7,000 yards in penalties in that game.
Yeah,
There were what, 2 fights in the game. It was like, what the fuck's going on in that game? It was like that
sloppy.
game was really long too, really long. Like that game ended right as the Buffalo game was starting. Um, and then Buffalo just beat down the Saints. It's clearly superior.
Yeah,
Uh,
Josh
Like
Allen.
I don't know if
You
I
know,
told you like with going back to Dallas, like I don't know if I told you off air or on or after we were on, but I think with Dallas, I think Pollard's clearly the superior running back down there, and they need to cut bait with Zeke, but they're not going to because he makes like 70 million a year.
yeah, they like the flashiness, but I hear you, man. They might be a better team with Pollard, just because there's not the pressure to feed Zeke all the time. And
Hmm.
I don't know, but who knows? Who knows? Okay, so let's go to this weekend. First game, we got Tampa Bay at Indianapolis. Who do you like there, James?
So this game was a close one for me, and I told you like that's excuse me, that stat about Carson Wentz. I think I think Tampa Bay is going to win the game. I just can't pick against Tampa Bay in the game. I tried to, and my computer shut down. So
That was the sign from the gods that you
yeah.
made a mistake. Switch it back. I got you. Well, we got some action here. I'm going with Indianapolis. I think they've got the momentum as of late. Tampa Bay does not. Um, I think the Bucks have been struggling on the road, and I just think a lot of that is going to play well for Indy. I do believe that this is a big test for Indy, and so I'm interested to see how it plays out. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm picking them for this one. Next up, we got the New York Jets at the Houston Texans. Who do you like there, James?
Well, something interesting I found when I was looking at the stats for the Jets is since week 8, the Jets have gained 435.8 yards per game, which is the most in the NFL.
What? Holy
Yes.
shit. I never would have thought that. I mean, it sounded high when you gave me the number, but to be the top of the NFL, wow.
Yes. Their defense, however, and keep in mind they have a defensive head coach.
Yeah.
Their defense is allowing 431.8 per game, which is the worst in the NFL.
Yeah. I hope Salah figures that out. Otherwise, it's like the typical trap. Defensive guy goes to a team. What do? They draft offensive guys.
Hmm.
They neglect the defense, thinking all I got to do is get good players on offense, and then I'll make the defense work. And it just they lose sight of it, and it never gets there.
And so apparently this week Zach Wilson is back starting. He's the only quarterback that they can start because apparently Mike White has COVID. Joe Flacco's a close contact
Okay.
or something. So uh, I just think Houston is just a slightly better team, and Houston wins the game.
So you're going Houston. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going Houston as well. It's in Houston. These are two bottom feeder teams on my board. I just thought, hey, give it to the home team if they're that close. Um, it's hard to analyze two shit teams like this. It's not a fun thing to do, James. Next up, we got Philly at the New York Giants. Who do you like there?
All right. So when I was researching this, this is a hard. hard one for me to pick because the Giants, like if you look at their schedule and look at their 7 losses, they're all pretty much to quality teams.
Okay.
And so, but if you look at the Eagles, they kind of they have flashes and then they don't.
Very
Ultimately,
inconsistent.
yeah. Ultimately, I fell on the Giants for this because the Eagles aren't a quality team.
Okay. So I went with Philly in this game, and it just, I think it's a divisional game. It's at home for the Giants. I do like that that goes in their favor. Um, Philly has shown they sort of have a little bit of boomer bust in them. And so I thought, okay, I like that they have, in my opinion, the higher ceiling. They don't always play that way every week, but I'm going to give it to them for this one. We'll see what happens. Next up, we got Carolina at Miami. Who do you like there?
So part of the thing with Miami and with this game is Miami allows a lot of sacks. Last week they happened not to, but they in general allow the sixth most sacks in the NFL. They've allowed the sixth most sacks in the NFL. And the Panthers have the highest sack percentage in the NFL.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He As the game goes on with Tua, he gets better. He apparently he has like in the first half he has like a 65% completion percentage, and in the second half he has like a 73.
Okay.
But I just think I something's telling me that Carolina's just the better team and has more. Even though Miami's defense is playing better, I know. I just got done saying that, and it's just something's leaning me towards the Panthers, and it's just my gut feeling that the Panthers are just slightly better team than the Dolphins.
Okay. Well, I feel like you baited me, you son of a bitch, because you've been pumping up Miami lately, and it started ringing true in my head. I was like, well, Miami's getting better. Carolina, I think, they're starting to just kind of be lost at sea. Um, so I'm going with Miami here. I got them both close enough on my board that, typically when that happens, I just kind of opt for the home team is getting the edge. But that sack thing, that definitely has me concerned because that's the kind of thing that normally I would put a lot of weight on what happens in the trenches. But that's okay. We got to have some good game action. So I'm going to stick with Miami. We'll see what happens. Next up, we got the Tennessee Titans at the New England Patriots. Who do you like there, James?
All right, so this is an interesting set. You'll find since the Patriots fell behind 7-0 in the first quarter to the Browns, they have scored 70 straight points.
That's insane.
But and so it's like their last 19 opponent drives they've had 9 sacks, 5 interceptions, and 3 for 21 on third down conversion.
3 for 21. Holy cow.
On the flip side, Tennessee this season is 5-0 outright when they are an underdog. So I'm going to hang my hat on that stat and go with the Titans in this game.
Okay. I like your nuggets that you got for these games, man. I really do. I'm going with the Patriots here. I like that it's in New England. I like that they have the momentum. I like what's going on with their defense. They're looking really solid. I can't believe fucking Kyle Van Noy, the Lions fucking castaway, just back at it again with Bill Belichick. But Tennessee, on the other hand, they're in a little bit of disarray right now. Um, And they gotta kind of show me that they can work their way back up before I feel good about them. And I think some of that I'm still nervous that Derrick Henry he's not coming back this year, man. And so it's kind of like, or I don't know, is he coming back or is he out for the season?
I think he's designated to return. I'm not certain.
Either way, he's not coming back in this game. So,
Yeah, he's not coming back in this game.
all right, so I'm going the Patriots. Next up, we got the Steelers at the Bengals.
So I'm actually changing my pick in this game from what I sent you.
Okay.
Because when I dove into this game, like my instinct tells me the Bengals, but when you look at the stats against the Bengals, Big Ben is 24-9.
No messing around.
Mike Tomlin on the road as an underdog. Apparently he has 2 ties in there. 42, 20, and 2.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with the Steelers.
I'm just blown away that you would do that after you've been dogging the Steelers all year. But
I
you got
know.
you got to do what you got to do. I respect you, James. I'm going Cincinnati. I think that this is a new era. The Bengals are becoming a real team. The Steelers are fading away. Maybe this is like their last stand and they get the win, but I'm going to go Cincinnati. Next up, we got Atlanta at Jacksonville. Don't think, just pick.
Well, it's my pick is Atlanta. I wanted to tell you an interesting stat I came across when I was looking at this game.
All right, give it to me.
In the last 3 games, Trevor Lawrence has thrown 0 touchdowns. He's thrown 0 interceptions. Only one QB since 2000 has started and had none of either in 4 straight games. No touchdowns, no interceptions in 4 straight games. And that was Jacoby Brissett.
Really?
And it apparently took Jacoby Brissett, because of his intermittent starting, from 2019 to 2021 to do that.
Wow. Okay.
But I hate to, I just got done dogging the Falcons and how shitty they look, but Jacksonville looks that much worse, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Falcons on it.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm going Atlanta. It's just tough, like, I mean, I talked about it a few weeks ago. It's like Atlanta's the best of the shitty teams or whatever. And these are 2 shitty teams. And so it's in Jacksonville. But I'm not seeing enough out of Jacksonville. At least with Atlanta, you've seen some stuff this year. Like Cordero Patterson's done some shit. Like, I mean, they've done some stuff in Atlanta. They just suck. I mean, Jacksonville's like not really done anything. So I'm going with the Falcons here. Next up, we got the Chargers at the Broncos.
How many touchdowns do you think Melvin Gordon scored against the Chargers since he's joined the Broncos after leaving LA?
6.
Well, it's only 2 games. That's a little high, don't you think?
No.
0.
All right.
0.
Well, hey, whatever, man. I
0.
was feeling frisky.
I just think the Chargers are a better team. They're significantly better than the Broncos. Yeah, I just said that there's a theoretical, legitimate chance the Broncos have to winning the division or making the playoffs, based on record, purely based on record. But on paper, I think the Chargers are 10 times better than the Broncos. So I'm going to go with the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm with you. On paper, the Chargers are significantly better. It's a divisional game in Denver, so anything can happen. I really do believe that. But I think the Chargers are the better team. They should win this game. Like you mentioned, they're only 1 game up on Denver, and so they kind of need this win to start pulling away. and get back into that fight with Kansas City. So I'm going with the Chargers. Next up, we got the Rams at the Packers, the game you've been talking about, James.
Yes. All right. Kirk Cousins as a road underdog is 5-1. San Francisco hasn't won a game at home this year.
Oh, I was talking Minnesota. I was talking the Rams at the Packers, but you're on to the Vikings and the 49ers.
Oh, I skipped. I'm sorry.
We can come back, whatever works.
Nope. That's fine. This one was a difficult one to pick as well for me. I think my eyes skipped, so I had my notes on a separate page. So on that one, so the Rams and the Packers, it was a difficult game for me to pick. Because Stafford's.
I mean, Rodgers owns Stafford. Let's just say that.
The Packers own Stafford.
Yes.
There's only one quarterback that has more losses to the Packers than Stafford, and that's Fran Tarkenton in 1950.
Okay.
Or in the 1950s, since 1950. Fran Tarkenton had 14 losses to the Packers. Stafford's lost 13 times to the Packers.
Gotcha.
Yet he's thrown 37 career passing TDs against the Packers.
That's not bad, man. That's like, well, I don't know about how many games, though. 13 losses, but that's not the total games. He's probably won a couple of them.
Yeah, he's probably won 2 of them. Maybe 3 if we're lucky. This game, I went with the Rams because I think the Rams coming off the bye, they're getting their pieces together. They had more time to incorporate Von Miller, have more time to incorporate OBJ, and I think the Rams are gonna. That bye week came at the right time for them. They were starting to trail off, and the Rams will come out and beat the Packers. Probably a close game. Probably 27-24.
Okay. Well, I'm
30-27.
hoping it's freezing balls in Green Bay and Stafford sucks ass. And so I'm going with the Packers here. I am very interested in this game. And I know we've talked about this sort of thing in the past where, two good teams typically trade wins from season, within the season or whether it's the regular season or playoffs. This is going to be their shot here to play before they potentially see each other in the playoffs. And it's one of those strange things. If Green Bay gets the win here, it makes you wonder, do the Rams get them in the playoffs because now they know what they're expecting, or vice versa? And so I'm going Green Bay, but this should be a damn good game. And your note about the bye week, I think, definitely puts some things in the favor of the Rams. But I'm going with the Packers. I trust Rodgers way more than I trust Stafford, and I don't know. That's just what I'm doing. But now we got Minnesota at San Francisco. So as you were saying with Kirk Cousins, let's hear what you had there.
As a road underdog, Cousins is and this is 5-1. So apparently I think that might be against the spread this season. I might have noted that wrong, but when you look at San Francisco has not won a game yet at home. In his career as head coach, Shanahan is 10-22 as a home favorite.
Wow.
And that's what made me go to the Vikings on this game.
Okay. Well, I went with Minnesota just because I popped them above the 49ers on my board. And we talked earlier about, me going back, looking at my notes, checking some of the tape. just feeling like Minnesota's been playing the better ball this year. Um, I think it's going to help the 49ers that it's at home, or at least I would have thought that until I heard you tell me how they just don't play well at home. So that makes me feel better about my pick for Minnesota. Next up, we got the Browns at the Ravens.
So Myles Garrett has 13 sacks this year already, and he's clearly easily going to set the Browns record, which sits at 14, which was set in 1984 for the Browns by Reggie Camp, whoever that is. Mayfield generally doesn't play well against the Ravens. He in TD interception ratio in his 6 games, he's thrown 10 touchdowns, 8 interceptions.
Huh.
And so I'm seeing this trend continue with him, where he's not going to have a good game again against Baltimore, and Baltimore's going to win the game.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm picking Baltimore as well in this one. Baltimore, they've been a lot more steady of a team this year, if you could say that. I mean, they're sitting at 7-3. Cleveland's at 6-5. Cleveland, it seems like they've been struggling to get those 6 wins. Baltimore, it's been, maybe a little bit more expected. And so, divisional game in Baltimore, extremely tough to win in Baltimore. I'm going to go with the Ravens here. If you ask me, honestly, with the way Cleveland's getting healthy, if you ask me a few weeks from now, I would be a little bit hesitant, but I think Baltimore's got this. Next up, we got Seattle at Washington.
So, last Friday, when we did this, I was dogging Taylor Heineke as a quarterback in the NFL. What does he do last week? He has the highest total QBR in the league.
Jinx.
He threw, I forget how many passing touchdowns. The set to know is if he throws 3 or more passing touchdowns against Seattle this week, he will be the first Washington quarterback to throw 3 or more passing touchdowns in consecutive games since Kirk Cousins did it in 2016.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. What do you think about that, Jay Gruden? Fucking pushing Cousins out of town. Good job. What are you doing these days?
Look, Seattle's way on the decline. Russ hasn't looked right since he came back from his finger injury, his broken finger, or whatever it was. The offensive line's not playing good, not really protecting him. Washington's playing just slightly better. Like the defense leaves a little bit to be desired, especially with the Chase Young injury, which leaves a big gap in that defense. But I'm going to go with Washington in the game.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's weird saying Seattle's this bad, but I'm going with Washington as well. And I feel like these are both bad teams, but Washington is doing a way better job playing as a team. And, I don't know if that's just the Ron Rivera mentality, bringing these guys together. Maybe it's a little bit of Heineke magic because he's thinking, hey, this is my shot. I got to make good on it. Whatever it is, combination of all the factors, I'm sure. Like you said, Russ with the finger thing, and Chris Carson's out, and so they can't lean on the run game like they would probably like to. And so I just, Seattle's defense is fucking horrible. It's a shame that they got this bad. You go from the Legion of Boom to where they're at today. It's sad, man. In Washington, I know Chase Young's out, but I feel like they're playing better team ball, and so I'm going with the football team here. Last game, we're looking forward to next Thursday. We got Dallas at New Orleans. Who do you like there, James?
So first, I have you noticed over the past couple years, I've really noticed it like the last 2 or 3 years that it appears that the Thursday after Thanksgiving, a team that played the two teams that play on the Thursday after Thanksgiving played
We're
on
in
Thanksgiving
third. Oh, I that's another one where you did your all six of them lost last week, and now you're pulling this. I never noticed that either.
because I know last year I remembered looking at it and I was like, that's weird. And then yeah, because last year it was who was it that played after Thanksgiving? Who was scheduled after Thanksgiving? So week 12 last year was. I mean, and watch, it didn't happen last year. Oh, so there were only two games. It was Houston, Detroit, Washington, Dallas. And then on the week after Thanksgiving, there was no Thursday game.
I'll blow that up.
There were two Monday games. There was a
It's
Tuesday
it's
game.
because we had the COVID year. We
Yeah.
got to go back and probably look at previous years.
So week 13 was the Thanksgiving game the previous year. It was Chicago, Detroit, whoops, that's not right. Yeah, that is right. Chicago, Detroit, Buffalo, Dallas, New Orleans, Atlanta. And then in week 14, it was on the Thursday night game. It was Dallas, Chicago.
Okay, so yeah, maybe there's something to it. Could be
So
by
I
design.
noticed that, and I like that because it kind of makes sense. Because you have so many teams playing on Thanksgiving that it's hard to not have team go from Thursday to Thursday, and a team go from Sunday to Thursday.
Yeah, ease them off a little bit.
Yeah, but I don't like what I'm seeing out of the Saints this year. Like I keep telling you, like they're inconsistent. They were inconsistent before Jameis went down. The team, if they had a legitimate quarterback there, I mean, Jameis Winston's one thing, but once he went down, if they had a legitimate backup quarterback there besides Trevor Simeon,
Yeah,
this team
yeah,
could be a playoff to a Super Bowl contender.
yeah.
But they have a lot of injuries. And they're, they're not being able to make up for those injuries either. So I'm gonna go with they have like 10 players out this past week, and it's probably gonna be the same this coming week. I'm gonna go with Dallas.
Okay. So I don't trust either of these teams at this point. I mean, Dallas, I was high on a couple weeks ago, but now they got back-to-back losses, and they just they're like sputtering in weird ways. And I would say this, New Orleans defense looks really good, but the offense has been so bad, it's just hanging that defense out to dry. And so I think I got to give the edge to Dallas in this game. But man, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I feel like anything could happen in this game. So I'm going Dallas, but I wouldn't be surprised. It's in New
Mm,
Orleans. If they found a way to come together and get the win, it wouldn't be shocking to me. But I'll go Cowboys here. Okay, those are the picks. Let's move it on to our question of the week. As I kind of hinted earlier, it was going to be a Jonathan Taylor question. And so basically, with Indy running back Jonathan Taylor going off in recent weeks, some people, James, are now starting to put him in the MVP conversation. Do you buy it? And I'll just start off by saying I do not. And I do believe he is a legit top back in the league. There's no doubt about that. I think he's one of the top running backs out there right now. But I want to keep in mind that when Derrick Henry got hurt, Jonathan Taylor was a full 300 yards behind where Derrick Henry was at. And most people were saying that Derrick Henry really wasn't even a feasible MVP because it's such a quarterback award as opposed to any other position. And so I know that Taylor's been shredding it up lately. It just I don't know. And I think this weekend is a good test because the Bucks defense is really, really good at stopping the run. And so I think if he just like carves them up on the ground, just like slices and dices right through them, maybe I'll be like, okay, it's interesting. Uh, but I think it has to be a combination of things at that point where, like we saw Stafford start to kind of flounder. I think Jonathan Taylor on his own isn't going to win the MVP. He has to continue this sort of ridiculous pace that he's on now, and he needs a lot of the quarterbacks to fall off. Otherwise, it's just a quarterback award, man. I mean, let's be real. What do you think?
So the last running back to win the MVP was Adrian Peterson in 2012. I want to take a look at the 2012 season because,
Sure.
my gut tells me that, yeah, he should be a legitimate MVP candidate, but blah, blah, blah. I think in 2012 there was just nobody there. Like nothing. Like Vikings were 10-6. Uh, they had who was their quarterback? Who was their quarterback? Where is it?
Christian Ponder.
I think it was. I seriously, you say that jokingly, but I think it was.
I mean, hey, he was their guy for a little while, right?
It was good call. It was Christian Ponder. Adrian Peterson that year had almost 2,100 yards rushing.
Okay.
Christian Ponder had just shy of 3,000 yards passing. Derrick Henry clearly led that team. You look at Jonathan Taylor now. He's not clearly leading the Colts. His play is we just told you the stats on how well Carson Wentz is playing.
Yep. And I think people will point to the defense too.
Yeah, and exactly. But just offensively, Jonathan Taylor isn't the sole reason that offense is clicking. There's really no turnovers. There's, Carson Wentz is throwing a bunch of touchdowns. He's settled down into the system, and yeah, it helps that Jonathan Taylor is running the ball well, but there's no clear offensive MVP for the Colts because you could even go as far as saying that some of the best, so like the MVP offensively is Quentin Nelson
Yeah.
on the offensive line, because and stuff like that. So you don't have him as the clear best player offensively on the team. There's no way he could be the MVP of the league.
I got you. No, that's good logic. I like the way you put that. Yeah, he carried them last week, but he's not been carrying them all year. He's definitely a contributor, but I don't think you can say he's an MVP.
In my other league, he carried my fantasy team last week.
Well, yeah, I got smoked in a league going up against him. He had like fucking 55 points or some shit.
And not the league I'm in with you. I forget the. I'm taking a look at how many points he scored last week. This is what I want. I want week 11. He scored 60 points for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
And
guy, yeah, the league I played him in, he had 55. But yeah, it's all dependent on what your scoring system is. It was a shitload.
I won 131 to 92.65.
Oh wow. So yeah, he was like the only guy on the other guy's team.
No, that was no that I
Oh,
got
you had
61
him.
points from.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah, see now I'm mixing it up because I went against him. You had him. I got you.
and this week I picked up Tony Pollard and started him, and he got me 20, 23 and a half points yesterday.
Nice. Yeah, some good running back action.
And in our league that we're together, that I'm in with you, my running backs, I, I just
I'm off
I
on
have Derrick
fantasy this
Henry.
year, man. I've been
I
not staying on top of it enough for fantasy, unfortunately.
Yeah, my running backs. Well, I'm getting Hilaire back, Edwards Hilaire back, but I have what's his face, Derrick Henry. My other league, I had Kareem Hunt, so I have a bunch of players
Yeah.
going IR. It's just killing me. But Jonathan Taylor can't be the league MVP. He's not the best offensive player on his team, or possibly not.
Well, good deal. I appreciate that input. I thought that was a good question for this week. Um, all right, let's wrap it up, man. That's all I got for tonight. You got any closing thoughts there, James?
Fucking Lions.
Just that. Just the fucking
Did you did
Lions.
you see did you see the stat that Fox put on the screen last time since Lions had a winning season?
What was
2016.
it was just
Won
Jim
a playoff.
Caldwell, right? So,
Yeah. Last time they won a playoff game, 1991.
yeah.
And then why do you have to rub it in, Fox? Last time they won a fucking championship, 1957. Why even bother putting that on there now?
Yeah. Yeah, they're just digging at us. That's okay. We deserve it. We suck.
And that's that.
All right. Okay. Well, hey, so for anybody who's still watching, we hope you like the show. If you did, give us that thumbs up. If it's on Facebook, give us a like or however all this social media shit works. And hit the subscribe button. Whatever you can do, throw us a little bit of love. We appreciate that action. James, like always, man, it was a good time. I will catch up with you later, man.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut hut hike.